Hi, my name's Jocelyn. Call me Joe. I am here to start what I'm calling my diary of art. I've always been an artist, but I've had some bouts, I guess you could say, of my life where it kind of faded off into the background, so to speak. And I'm trying to get back into doing art on a regular basis here now, and I'm having a lot of trouble with motivation and inspiration. So I decided to start doing this diary, video diary, in order to try to help me with that. And maybe, hopefully, help me with other aspects of things that have been contributing to my lack of initiative in my artwork. So, to give you a bit of a background, because this is going to be a diary type, I'm going to give you a little bit of who I am, what I do, and why I'm having problems with it. So, I'm 40 something. When I was young, I didn't really show a whole lot of talent when I was young, and I think I was grade 5, maybe grade 6, probably grade 6 when I first showed any amount of talent, and it was very strange. I literally went from drawing stickmen to drawing portraits overnight. What happened was we were in art class, and the class was assigned a scenery. We had to paint a scene of something. I don't remember what it was supposed to be. I think it was a winter scene or something. But the point was that I had done all this work for background and everything, and then when it came to painting the people in, I painted stick figures. And a teacher come along, and she saw mine, and she huffed. And she said, "You are plenty old enough to be able to do better than that." Now, in retrospect, that was a rather mean thing for her to say, but she was right. By that age, I should have been doing better than stick figures in my paintings. And I was upset. I had to restart, but I kept hooty humming this in my head. At this point in my life, I'd already knew that my mother was an artist, but she ran a store, restaurant, motel with my dad. They were managers of this place, and she was busy all the time. As a vacation one time, I saw her sit down with pencils and started drawing. She had had her pencils and her sketch pad hidden, just put away, out of the way, so that no one would get at them, because these were, professional grade, which wasn't exactly readily available where we lived back then. So she had them stowed away, and I had never seen them except for that summer. And this was probably the following year when this had happened. So I knew my mom could draw. And I knew that I had a great grandfather that could paint and a grandfather that could write. And on my dad's side of the family, there's all kinds of musicians. And at that point, I was already playing violin. So I just figured that if I had any amount of talent, it was going to be with music, because that's what I saw the most in front of me. And so I had never really thought about it, never really tried, never applied myself to it. But I was at the motel, and I was doing laundry in the laundry room, and I got bored. So I pulled out my math book, and I looked at my math homework and said, "Screw that." And I had my Walkman with me. I'm aging myself pretty good there. And the CD I had with me was John Bon Jovi's Blaze of Glory. It had all the pictures of all the actors from Young Guns 2 on it. And I started drawing them. And they actually were good. I really liked how they turned out. They turned, I mean, comparing what I did that day to what I do now, definitely not good. But considering the day or two before that at school, I was drawing stick figures. I did amazing. And I was so impressed and so happy that I actually showed it to my mom. And she looked at it and she's like, "You did that? When did you do that? What? Let me see those pictures you took that from." She couldn't get over it. She was so impressed. And she's like all ecstatic. And I mean, I can't remember her ever behaving quite that joyously about something I had done. Usually it resulted in, "Oh, because I'd done something that I should have been getting in trouble for. So, so it was quite opening for me to, it's like, this is something I can do. This is something I am good at. It's not something that I had to think about, like with the piano, whether or the violin or anything else that I had put in front of me. I had so much trouble spelling. Forget trying to write anything. It didn't matter. This was something I could just take the time, sit still, look at it, and do it. And as long as I just took the time, it didn't matter. And I soon found that through any kind of stress or anxiety that I was having, trying to learn things at school, which was difficult for me, being a dyslexic, it was, there was lots of stress, lots of anxiety, lots of work, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends really when I was in elementary. So it gave me grade 6, which back then was elementary, um, to just sit and draw pictures. And people were like, "Oh, can you draw me a picture of," and like whoever, whatever kid was hot in Bopper magazine or whatever. And I would sit there and I would draw it and I'd have it done in a few minutes and it would look like them. And people were impressed and people liked it. And I got to feel good about myself for a little while, that I had something I was capable of. And I had no idea that it was something that I was capable of until I took the time to actually try it and do it and force myself to actually legitimately try. So I never legitimately tried at art up to that point. So it was nice. And then we moved schools and I had the other stress of, new people, new surroundings. So I was stressed and I was angry. I didn't want to be at this new school. So I would sit there in class drawing. I would draw the people surrounding me. I would draw the teachers. I would draw for whatever I saw out the window. It's how I filled my time until I started to get friends. And then the friends are like, "Oh, wow, you're an incredible artist." And then it became the thing that I did because it was something that they also could do. I had a couple of friends that I had made that were also artists. And we would sit and we would do things and we would show each other and learn from each other. And that's where I learned a lot of what I do is from my friends. I would pick up a few things from my mom. I show my mom something that I had done and she would say, "Well, this angle is a little bit off. You need to curve a little bit more this way. Need a deeper shadows, those sorts of things." And she would basically look at my artwork and tell me this is bad, but she would do it in a way that I could learn from it and be better. And the fact that she and I could openly talk that way was incredible. I mean, it was one thing that we could really truly connect on. And up to then, I don't think she and I had anything in common. So that's where I got my start, trying to find a way to find me, to be happy, to fit in, to have something in common with somebody, to have something to talk about. Um, Quickly that evolved. I got into drama club, even though none of my friends were in it. Made new friends, made more friends, and started to realize what the difference was between friends and acquaintance. It allowed me to start to evolve as an individual, because there was something that I was doing for me because I wanted to do it. It was something that I felt that I was good at, and other things didn't really need to be stressed over anymore as much. And when I got out of high school, graduated high school, at that point I had a 1-year-old daughter when I graduated high school. And I got a job working at a grocery store. My first job there was developing pictures. So that to me was like the dream job. But then they moved the photo lab to another store and I couldn't follow it. I couldn't go with it. So Then I started working just any job they would give me. I was a jack of all trades. I had worked parcel pickup, I'd worked in the seafood, I worked the grocery, stocking shelves. The only place I'd never worked was the deli, and I never worked the cash register. I actually didn't want to work the cash register because I was so self conscious about my dyslexia. I was so worried about getting numbers wrong and counting the till wrong that it actually gave me a lot of anxiety, the thought of working the cash. But then when I was around 20, actually, I got a job working as a restoration artist. So I worked for a photographer, correcting little things. Lightening the shadows under eyes was the big thing. Making people look extra pretty, basically. But after working there for a couple of years, I started to think of it as quite literally sitting in the corner coloring all day. It wasn't my artwork. I got to sign some of the big things that I did a lot of work on, yeah, but it wasn't my signature on the picture. It was my signature on a little tiny thank you card that was in the back of the parcel. Then the people opened it up and looked at all the pictures and discarded the box that had the little tiny thank you note in it. So I wasn't important. I didn't feel like I was actually doing anything to contribute to my own skill or my own abilities. So it didn't, it wasn't fulfilling. So I went back to doing the whole jack of all trades thing and got a bunch of jobs, literally a bunch of jobs, working in the mall. But I mean, at one point, I was working those two jobs and the job, restoration work for the photographer, at the same time, working like 70 plus hours a week so that I could have a good Christmas for my daughter. And that was stressful. How it was hard to get through. And I kept doing it because I'm the kind of person who has to keep busy. I have to be doing something. So when I was not doing something, I was having a hard time. That's when I would feel myself start to stress, start to get the anxiety going. Um, so I would take time and I'd sit and I'd draw some pictures and let it go. And I'd feel better. So it was always there, always a way for me to relieve stress, always a way for me to take care of my anxiety and stay, mentally sound, I guess you could say. But then, be about 9 years ago, this is after having gone back to school. I'd gone to university and learned a whole lot of stuff. Ended up getting a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in sociology, minor in philosophy. I really wanted to have the double major in politics, but I had a few troubles with one of the required classes, so I wasn't quite able to do that. I did go back to try to get my master's degree, but in order to get my master's, I had to get a double major in sociology and psychology. So I tried to get back in, and I was about a half semester in. And when I got injured on the job, working with children with disabilities, injured my shoulder, and it never healed. We are now 9 years later. It has never healed, and it probably never will. It triggered a problem with the myofascial sheath, and ended up, well, it's 9 years now of chronic pain, all kinds of other issues. I was finally got a diagnosis just this year with fibromyalgia, which I've known for a long time. It was fibromyalgia, but I couldn't get a doctor to say that until this previous year. I think it was November, I think, that I saw him, so not long ago. So obviously during all that, it was very stressful, lots of anxiety, way behind on bills, had a car repoed, it was bad. But I started trying to draw again, and it hurt to sit the right way to be able to draw. It would cause me a lot of pain. So it was taking away from that.